Don't let the ghosts and the ghouls disturb you.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Josh from Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake, and today I am joined by a very special friend of mine, Louie Moss. You are with Franken Hooker, the band, as well as the Clintonville Slasher and the Slasher Hour. You're a man of many hats. I'm really stoked
Many
to have
hats.
you back on.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. We had a lot of fun on the It episode, you know,
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we did.
and I've been on a few episodes of yours. We just did Silver Bullet last month. So super stoked.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. Anytime, anywhere, man.
Any Barrett channel.
So today you and I have come together for a very special movie in our lives. Um, that is one that has been like ever since I can remember. Like I grew up watching it. I'm sure it's the same for you. It was just always there. You always every Halloween it's like a staple. You just
Right?
watch it at least once, if not more times. Like once is the minimum. Um, but today we are talking about Ernest Scared Stupid
Yes.
in 1991. Stars one of like my favorite actors, like Jim Varney. Rest in
hmm
He was such an amazing guy, and reading some things personally about him too, you could tell he was amazing off screen and on screen. Just a very lovable guy. And for many of you who don't know Jim Varney, you might also recognize his voice from Toy Story as Slinky Dog. But he had like a whole plethora of movies that were all Ernest, but this
Yep.
just happens to be the best of them all.
Oh, yes. Yes, I agree. It is the best.
And this was a movie that was actually released on this day back in 1991.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, it was. Well,
Oh,
happy
yeah.
birthday, Ernest Scared Stupid. Look at
Happy
that.
birthday. That worked out perfect.
Yeah, it did.
So going into this movie, you want to give us just your quick synopsis of what you would say about this movie if you were to look on the back of a video case?
So I guess like this movie has a lot of meaning to me. This is one of my favorite horror like Halloween holiday films. It is a must watch. It's one of those movies that you have to watch at least once a year, and that's the bare minimum. I've been known to watch this at Christmas time too, so I watched this one and Ernest Saves Christmas. But this is the best. So a little rundown of the film is that this is the fourth installment of the Ernest franchise. You have Ernest P. Worrell, who is a garbage truck driver that lives in Maryland, and there is an old town curse of a one of Ernest's relatives has put this old troll that was running around town stealing the souls of children to raise his army and turning them into wooden dolls. But Ernest's descendant actually trapped him in this big oak tree, and Trantor the troll put a curse on him and said that his relatives would be dumber and dumber and dumber over time. And Ernest puts his hand on the tree like this and raises him up, and all the craziness happens.
Right? I that like it's really good from the get-go. Like that whole opening scene, like is like this girl running through the woods. She,
Mm-hmm.
she's being chased by this creature, which we find out is a troll, but you don't really see him.
No, you just see his hand come at her.
Yep, all you see is the hand, and then he gets like they throw like this net over him and wrap him up and then bury him, like you said, underneath the tree. And he puts that curse on him, and then right after that scene, it cuts right into Ernest, like when he's like dumber and well, it's like I guess it goes into like her telling it's Elizabeth telling.
Telling the story in a book
Yes.
report. Yeah.
So I skipped a whole section right there. It's her telling the story of Trantor and like
Yeah.
the history of their town, or the lore, you know.
It's supposed to be at the book report was supposed to be on the history of town, not Nightmare on Troll Street.
Right?
You know?
That
The
freaking
dork likes her. Matt was probably one of my favorite bullies out of every story. I mean, like any like bully in any movie, like Matt's my favorite because his one-liners are horrifically terrible. Like they're the stupidest thing you've ever heard.
right. He's like, there was like,
Binder.
or like when he's like, I smell a dork when I, all right, I can smell a dork when I see one, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
these 90s like kid humor, like.
Yeah, I know. Or they're shaking the haunted house and they like knock it over. Where you, Binder? Where you going? This fun's just beginning. You know, the two asshole kids, Matt and his brother, who are like the mayor's like crappy sons.
Right, like they're his pride and joy, but they're like just a bunch of turds. They're
Yeah.
polished turds is exactly
Yeah,
what.
they are big polished turds.
But you know, I love the dynamic of, you know, the duo. Like I feel like Ernest and his dog Rimshot, like
Yeah.
I feel like Rimshot has more brains sometimes than Ernest does.
Rimshot can drive a truck. All right, so I mean, I think he might have win. Rimshot can actually drive that truck, and he's like steering it and stuff. He's like the smartest dog ever.
He even freaking throws it in reverse, dude.
Yeah, I know. Not only does he throw it in reverse, but he knows how to operate the garbage truck. You know?
Oh man, to mention that garbage truck, that scene where we first get Ernest and he's like in the trash, like, and
He gets the bumper, and he gets that like that car muffler and tries to stop it.
yeah.
Don't put me in there, Ernest. I know I have family at the doll factory. I'll send him a nice card each day.
It's just in the gear. And I love when he like finally he unplugs it and he's like
the electricity makes no sense. Just makes the doors just automatically close. And then when they open it up, he's like, rah, 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 and he's upside down, it compacted in the garbage, and his feet are above his head kicking. That's one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. It was so stupid and so awesome. Oh man.
So essentially, originally Ernest is sent out to old lady Hackmore's place,
Right?
to tell her that they need to clear out all her crap. You know, she's a freaking hoarder. It's an eyesore for the community. Like, you know, so the mayor has, you know, has sent him out there with serve her papers and like, you know, you need to clear this crap out of here.
Yeah.
And he ends up, you know, serving her. She's like, aren't you that Warrow kid? You will bring doom upon us all. Like, you know?
And not only that, but old lady Hackmore is played by Eartha Kitt, the original Catwoman from the 1960s Batman.
Sweet.
Hello, baby. I mean, ay, right? I mean, even then she looked good. I like her old lady bushy eyebrows they gave her and her just crazy hair. You'll be unconscious to a tall world. Of all the trees in the world, you had to pick this one. I mean, I love old lady Hackmore.
Right.
We've all had an old lady Hackmore in our neighborhoods growing up.
At one point or another, I think we've all had that grouchy old lady who is just
Yep.
like, don't even like bother. Like, don't go anywhere near her place.
No. Old lady Hackmore. Wow, I thought she'd never leave her house.
Right. So essentially, what leads to this whole like raising Trantor is that Ernest is talking with Kenny, and you know, because he's being bullied and he's getting really sick of being bullied by the mayor's kids, the Tulip brothers.
Yep.
And so he's giving him this whole speech, which I love, which, you know, he's like, you know, we're the Ottomans. And like
the whole time he's talking, he's like in multiple personality, and the car jack is like just about to slip off. But yeah, I love that part. He does that in almost all of his movies where he shows up as multiple personalities parts, but that part is amazing. I thought we needed dress shields.
Right. And then the whole Botswanian, he's like, He's like, there ain't no trees in Botswana. Trust me, I am a Botswanian lumberjack, and I ain't ever.
I ain't not no job. I am a Botswanian lumberjack, and I ain't had no job.
Shit, that he just kills me. I don't know, like, I've had people that I've shown the movie to, and they're like, "This is dumb." I'm like, "What are you talking about? This is great.
No,
This
it's not dumb. This is gold. This is
is
a
gold."
pure treasure.
Yeah,
Pure treasure is what it is.
right? Like, I even like. It's funny. I showed my wife, and she loves it now. Like, we watch it together, and like, all the movies. Like, I have like several of them at my house, and we just like Christmas time. It's Ernest Saves Christmas. Ernest Goes to Jail. Ernest
Oh, that one's awesome too.
And like Ernest Goes to Camp, and like the Army, like all of them. We have like her and I, like, she loves it. She's like, oh my god, we got to show our kids this when we're when they're old enough, or like when they're or like not a baby. But
show them when they're babies, they'll understand.
Yeah, they'll get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pure like fun, and it's like the comedy is like it's there. It's just a lot of people are expecting adult humor, and it's more of like it's kind of like it's like a middle ground. Like, I feel like there's some things that are said that are very adult humor, and then there's some that are just like aimed at kids, and it's great. It's a good blend. It's something good for parents and their kids to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
And so so they get done with this talk, and he ends up like showing them like out there in the woods they're picking trees, which is another great scene. He's like, too much bass, and like the one
that's what's nice, and the tree falls over. Too many termites,
right? And
inhabited, the bird shits in his eye.
But then they
this is neat.
Right, the creepiest section of the woods, there's like fog rolling out of like this thicket, and he's like, ooh, let's go in there, because that seems like the perfect place for a treehouse. So
no, it doesn't.
But they end up building that house, and like he's like, they're like, it's so crazy how like quick they build this treehouse.
Yeah,
it's insane.
And the fact that all the junk is sitting right there, and he's like, I've been holding on to this stuff for years. How the hell did you get it there? Like, what? You were literally looking at the tree, and 5 seconds later, you have all this shit everywhere. Like, what? And I don't understand how they built a treehouse out of a box spring, a couple of milk jugs, and the front of a car. And all of a sudden, you turn around later, and they've got a full treehouse. Like, where? How?
There's a whole montage scene.
I swear to God, he's Bob Vila. He's Bob Vila's stunt double, because there's no other way. He even dresses like him.
Bob Vila. Hold on. I'm trying to think that who's okay. Remind me of who Bob Vila is.
Bob Vila, dude. Bob Vila is a like a home improvement guy. The whole show, off topic, but the whole show, Home Improvement, was making fun of Bob Vila. Like, Bob Vila was this home improvement guy, and I cannot remember the name of the show he made, but he would do these crazy houses and stuff, and the whole show of Home Improvement was always making fun of it. Yeah, that was a good show too.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, there's just like, they quickly put up this treehouse, and then old lady Hackmore is coming out. She's like, the spirits are loose again, because like he like I'm skipping parts. God damn it.
Yeah, what are you doing?
So he's like, every first starts with a single nail, and he's like starts hammering it in.
Yep. And then Trantor starts waking up inside the tree.
Yep. Yeah. See, like the blue spirits coming up out of like the ground.
Right.
Rimshot even notices it coming out of the ground, and there's just like all of a sudden this eerie like atmosphere that comes when Trantor wakes up. Like there's like thunder and lightning, and like old lady Hackmore then is coming out there. She's like the spirits are loose again, and he's like, if I knew this was your tree.
If I knew it was your land, we would have asked first. But yeah, and then they kind of run off, and that's when the two mayor's kids show up. Yep. And the kids are in the treehouse, and they actually shoot, like they have like this seat gun, and it's like a fighter, like a shooter, and it shoots dog food at him. And they have a pizza slinger. Now, what's interesting about that pizza slinger is those are old props that were left over from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. Those are old props left over from that movie.
Which that's funny because that's one of my facts that I found.
Oh, really?
I was like, as soon as you started to say, like, as soon as you went into like a fun fact after you said pizzas, I'm like, shit.
Yeah, I'm sure we have. I'm sure we have, like, because I have a list of like 10 things, and I'm sure they're both on the same list. There's one on there that's super awesome.
Oh gosh, I can only imagine. I found a really cool one too. So we'll get to that as we go on.
Right.
But yeah, that's really cool. Like I've noticed with some movies, like they reuse props, and reuse like even like in some movies I've heard it's CGI they've reused. Like the Wolfman remake, they used like one of the scenes, there's like this grizzly bear
Mhm.
that they actually reused from the Golden Compass. They turned the polar bear into a grizzly bear and just reused the CGI.
Really, that seems lazy to me.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Just get a real grizzly bear. Like Benicio
Yeah,
del Toro can't take on a grizzly bear. I mean,
right. Shit. I just had a bug attack my face, but
I know I saw that.
um, yeah. So like they come and they start like trying to attack them, and so like they're throwing stuff at them, and they're like, "This isn't over." They're like, "What?"
Right. This isn't over, whips, and they
Yeah,
storm off.
covered in like pizza and dog food, and it's just
Dog food, yeah.
yeah, it's just epic. Like I love it because it's like that hand throwing the pizza like on
Yeah.
the
It's
thing.
not yeah, it's just a hand that tosses the pizza like a frisbee.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And like you said, like the gun going on and stuff. They've pimped out this treehouse, like it's ready to
Right.
roll. Um, so then like Ernest returns after that. He's
Yep.
had this chat with Mrs. Hackmore and old lady Hackmore, we'll call her because that's her name, right? He comes back and he's like, yeah, she's real steamed and about trolls and like
She
and
was going on and on about trolls and turning little children into wooden dolls.
right, and like she said she starts mentioning about the whole Halloween night, or like the night before Halloween, like a whirl, knock on a tree.
You.
Yep. On a night like this.
Right. When a whirl like you places his hand on a tree like this and says, "Hey, I call thee forth, Trantor." What are the chances of that happening? And then he wakes up, which is like the best. I love the tongue out of his face when he's pounding on the tree. That's amazing.
Yes, this is, oh man, this movie is just pure. I have nothing but love for this film.
Pure Disney magic is what it is.
Right? Touchstone and Disney just made a beautiful baby.
Yeah, they did. They really did.
And so they all like end up leaving except for Ernest, and he's there. And
By himself.
yep, and he is like super creeped out. It's like the thunder is going, the lightning's going, things are moving around the treehouse, like the little like windmill and stuff, and it's all
And the shoe is running, moving back and forth. Yeah.
yeah, and he's just like uber creeped out, especially after his talk with Lady Hackmore. You can see it sinking in a little bit, and he's like,
Right.
all of a sudden, the freaking Trantor pops up out of nowhere in the treehouse, and Ernest's like falling back, and like he like, oh my god, like like he's like,
I know Todd Tree and all these karate moves, and I've seen WrestleMania 5 times, one time in slow mo, and then he kicks over the cooler at him.
Yep, and I love he's like one of those Keebler elves. Like he called,
You better be from Keebler.
here to bring you cookie. But and then he kicks over the milk, and then all of a sudden he like looks back up, and Trantor isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
We cut scenes to the kids have like been running and getting out of the forest, and they're back, on like back on the street, kind of like back to where they need to go to their respective homes. And
Yeah.
Elizabeth and Kenny end up
Kenny.
way, and Joey's kind of lingering there for a second. I'm like, dude, I would not be standing there, especially like
No, I'll be full on booking it. Yeah.
right. And he ends up like being super creeped out. There's noises going on in the woods, and like he ends up slipping and falling in this ditch with the water, and like
Yeah.
he's like scrambling to get out of it. And he's like, help me, Elizabeth, Kenny, Ernest, somebody.
Right. Somebody help me. Yeah.
And then
And he hears Ernest's voice. It says, I got you. Oh, Ernest, thank God you saved my life. And turns around and it's actually Trantor.
right.
And he's got his hand and he turns him into a doll.
Yep. Victim number one.
Yep.
For the current time. And so from there we go into to Ernest rushing to Kenny's house. He's like, he wants to tell the sheriff because Kenny
Sheriff Binder. He's got that upshot of his face. Sheriff Binder, trolls, Sheriff Binder.
I love how he's explaining. He's like, wait,
big little eyes, big things coming out of his ears, big teeth, and yeah, it's hilarious.
His head's like,
I did. I see a troll.
And they're like, you're just tripping, Ernest. Like, you're having a bad dream. He's like, I'm awake.
What you had was a dream, Ernest. I'm awake. It hurts, He pitches in space. Yeah, that's amazing.
And so essentially, we go. So this is essentially the night before Halloween that he wakes Tarantor up. So the next day is Halloween. They're all like, where's Joey? Like, Joey didn't go home last night. Like, there's like this whole like, oh God, like, do you really want to be the trolls?
Exactly. Now, what's funny about that, though, what you mentioned is that when he runs up to see Elizabeth is working on her bicycle. You notice that?
Yeah.
Okay. Later in the film, Eartha Kitt, she's working on her bicycle. You remember that? Like, they're both working on their bike. There's significance to that because both of them didn't know how to ride a bike. And the director was making fun of them. So he said, I guess the director said something about you guys both have to learn how to ride bikes. So he wrote it in the script so they had to ride bikes, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's not a fact that I have. So that's cool. It's kind of like he's like poking fun, and that's you gotta love a director that's like willing to like pull pranks or jokes on you, or like, it's like
write something in the script so you have to learn. He's like, yeah, you guys are gonna have to learn how to ride bikes. But like, Elizabeth doesn't know how, didn't really work on didn't ride the bike in the movie. She's just working on it. She's like trying to turn her bike pedal. Well, Eartha Kitt is doing the same thing in the latter half of the movie.
Yep, I remember that scene too. And a funny thing that I always notice is when they decide to go running off to go look, or to go find Ernest and everything, and to leave, she just leaves her bike there.
Yeah.
In the middle of the road or the sidewalk or wherever she's at. Like,
I think that was their driveway. I think they were just super rich and had a really long driveway.
Oh, okay. If that's the case, I mean, like, I was like, why are you just leaving your bike out there? Like, somebody's gonna steal that shit. Like,
well, this is 1991. People didn't steal bikes, I guess.
I guess not. I guess we're just so evil. Everybody's stealing.
Yeah.
But back in 1990s, I guess you could leave whatever you want out on your driveway, and it was but yeah, I thought that was funny. I was always like, why are you leaving your bike? But that makes sense. If it's her driveway, she feels safe enough, whatever. I guess that's a story. I just thought she was like out, like on a sidewalk somewhere, and he just happened to like find her and was like, she's like, oh yeah, let's go. Her bike's just left behind. But yeah, they end up like going to old lady Hackmore's they find they go to the treehouse first.
Yeah.
See the doll, like the tree is like all of a sudden different down below. They like notice that there's like this hole in the tree, that there's like this light, and like you see the like Joey's body, like the doll laying there.
And like, in the first shot,
and they're like, no, like it couldn't be, like story, like it's not real. Like, but they go from there, they end up going to old lady Hackmore's place, and are chased by Trantor. I don't think they know that Trantor's there. They have just like this feeling because he's kind of hiding,
Yeah.
but he ends up chasing them toward old Lady Hackmore's place. And he's like trying to get them, and then he gets sidetracked because he sees a kid rolling down on a skateboard.
Yep.
Like, oh, next victim.
Yep. He grabs the kid off the skateboard. Yeah.
But yeah, I sorry, I feel like I'm talking so much.
Oh no, it's fine.
Do you want to take it from that scene when they get to old Lady Hackmore's?
Yeah. So at that particular moment, the two kids, Kenny and Elizabeth, they go into the house and they're telling Ernest and that they think that this doll is Joey, and that's when they first meet old Lady Hackmore, and they're reading this poem out of this big book, and the poem said something about having the heart of a child to stop Trantor, and so she looks at both of them and she's like, "We need a heart." A child's heart. All fucking creepy. And I think after that is God, I don't remember what happens after that.
Oh man. I know all the scenes. I'm just trying to think in chronological order. Like,
right. I think it's Halloween night at that point. And no. I think the next scene is that's the next scene is that they're standing by the dumpster, and he's standing by the dumpster and he's talking about how big, tall, and ugly is going to come strolling through here and say, "Well, I want to better check what's on cable." So he jumps in the dumpster, and that's where we're going to catch him. And then he puts his sucker down, and as the trash can lid slams on his hand, and he keeps looking back and forth at it until he screams, which is really funny. But one scene you did forget to mention is when he first goes, when they first sees Trantor and he leaves the sheriff's house, he goes to old Lady Hackmore's house and he tells her about it. And he's like, I can't do this. And he says, "You're the great redneck hope." And then he's like, and then the next scene is him running down the street, troll alert, on a megaphone, like screaming through town like a lunatic. And he ends up at the two brothers who are like really cheesy, like salesmen, and he buys all this nonsense, like the troll away spray, and then the nunchucks, and then he buys like the 100 songs like love album. Then he gets, and they tell like crappy jokes. That's so awesome. And then he comes down to old Lady Hackmore's house or down her street, and he's all geared up, and he's got like a broom with like paint rollers on it. So what the fuck is that?
He's like the advancement in technology, like he's all like, control fighting equipment. Like, I love that scene too where he goes to the store. I'm so mad I forgot that, because like those brothers are in like every Ernest movie. Bobby,
they are in every Ernest movie.
I know the younger brother, the older brother that's like the older looking one that looks like he almost has no teeth is Bobby. I can't remember the other guy's name, but like he's always the one.
Dale. I think Bobby it's Dale. Dale Bobby.
Oh yeah,
when he's screaming at him.
So, but Bobby does anything that Dale wants all the time. Like he's like just along for the ride. But I love that, like he's like doing like the jokes and he's like hitting the drums. He's like,
yeah,
a fat puppy hate fast cars.
He holds it. Can you go upstairs? Come on. Do you like Ernest Scared Stupid? Yeah, you like Ernest Scared Stupid.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie. That's Josh.
I love hi. And I love like when he gives him the record, he's like, "Do you guys have the record?" Like, and he's like, "Do rattlesnakes kiss carefully?" Like,
yeah, I know. Or his other, there's a one-legged duck swim in a circle.
Right? Those are all super cheesy jokes.
Oh yeah, they're like the worst dad jokes ever.
Which, who knows, I might use those eventually on my kids.
I hope so.
But yeah, he's like all prepared. They got the troll hotel set up, and like it'll trigger like an alarm kind of thing, like letting them know that something's been caught in the trap, and they're like, it's gonna be a troll, like
right.
But so they end up getting an alert. Well, okay, I'm skipping parts again. So Kenny ends up going home, and during this scene too, there's a lot of cutaways. Like
Yeah.
it's Kenny and it's Elizabeth at home, like, her mom's trying to get her to go out, to the
Yep.
Halloween party. She doesn't want to go. She's
Oh, Snuffles, it was only you. And then she turns over the bed and it's Trantor. And I like the way Trantor looks is just awfully like horrifying for a kid. You've got this snotty troll with two noses, just snot everywhere all the time. Oh man. Yeah, I'd be terrified of that too. And then you miss the part where he's got Elizabeth in the hand and he's like the Trantor's running through town and he's hiding behind the car and he's about to get rim shot and Ernest and then he chases Kenny. That's what he does. He chases Kenny through the town and that's when he sees the milk truck.
Yep.
And then Trantor starts chasing Ernest, and Ernest ends up at the convenience store, and he's like, "I love charades. Two barrels?" And he throws the milk, and the milk hits the counter. Can you go up? Come on.
Yeah, that's a good scene too in the convenience store because he's like, the hungry lion hunts best, but he's like, he's piling like all those donuts
stuff,
like chocolate, and then like the convenience store clerk pulling the gun because he sees Trantor, and he's like, oh, two barrels.
Two barrels? And he throws his milk, yeah.
That is great. And then like the dude like literally passes out after Trantor like runs away.
Yeah.
Like passes out on the counter. It's like but yes. So like I said, like sometimes I forget the chronological order. Like I know the scenes, but it's like sometimes you're like, which scene came first? Hold on. Like it's trying to remember which.
I'm trying to remember which one scene came first, yeah.
But yeah, so like, Kenny ends up going home during this scene where Elizabeth gets taken by Trantor.
Yeah.
He ends up getting jumped by the mayor's sons. Dressed up in like gorilla looking outfits.
Yeah, gorilla masks, yeah.
And they're like making fun of him for being scared, and like then they end up like dipping because Kenny's mom pulls up.
What's the matter, Binder? Did you wet your pants?
Yep, those zingers. They got those
zingers. Yeah. Those 90 bully zingers. Matter, Binder.
And so she comes home and she's like, is everything okay? He's like, yeah, it's fine, blah, blah, blah.
No, she gets out of the car and she's like disappointed in her son. Like, I just got jumped on my bike, Mom. Like, fuck you. Like, seriously? She gets out of the car. She's like, now Kenny. Like, I just got jumped. What did I do? It's Halloween night. My friends are missing. I want to go trick-or-treating, get some candy. I get my ass kicked and you give me the runaround. Fuck you, Mom. Fuck you. That's fucked up.
And then he ends up like taking off. He's like, where's Dad? Like, and like taking off. And then we have this whole scene where like Kenny's dad's at the sheriff's office. All these people are like, Joey hasn't been home and like, the last day, like this one guy's fucking, I don't know why he's there. He's complaining about fucking his garbage.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody else is like, have like,
all the adults are dressed in costumes and the guy's dressed up like a bee. I haven't had my garbage picked up in a week. What's going on here? This lady's bitching about her kids. And then Mom comes in here. She goes, shush. Have you seen Kenny? Like, what the, who are you, lady? Are you serious? Like 10 minutes ago, you were mad at him for getting his ass kicked. Now you're worried where he is? You're a real piece of shit. I don't like her. Even her fucking haircut pisses me off in this movie.
Right? Dad doesn't believe Kenny's crap. Like it's just the whole like scenario, like in most horror movies that have kids, like the parents just brush them off and they're like, like whatever. And it's like, you see it time and time again in these movies. And they end up, so the mayor's kids get caught up in this trap. Like the thing goes off, we don't, at first you don't know that it's his kids. Like they're just like, oh, the trap went off. Like, and like,
yeah, he's like, we caught him, Dad. We caught him. All right, Ernest, open it up. And he opens it up and it's the two mayor's kids in the back of the truck. And then the mayor fires him, makes him turn in his keys.
Yep.
He's all moping and crying in his beer, and then Rimshot bites him and he goes, thanks. I needed
that. Right? Like, I love that scene too, because like right before that, when like the kids get out of there, they're like, heads are gonna roll, aren't they, daddy?
Daddy.
Like being a bunch of little bitches.
Yeah, right. They're so tough. What are you gonna do? Wet yourself, binders? Looks like you guys are wetting yourselves, you jerks.
Yeah, right. When real crap happens to them, they buckle. And
Oh yeah.
but yeah, I love it. He's like but he has that that moment, yeah, right after rim shot. He's like, we're gonna do something about this. Like, I'm not taking crap, and he goes to the school. And that's like an interesting scene because this is when finally everybody is gonna finally get to witness
The Trantor, yeah.
and they're gonna see that it's not a joke. Ernest is not just this crazy dude, and the kids are all full of shit. Like they're like,
Yeah.
and I love it. That's that scene that I was talking about kind of in the beginning when I was like, the bully's like, I know a dork when I smell one or see one. And it's
And he slaps him.
Yeah.
And then and the curtain falls and he's like grabbing him and shit. And fucking everybody's like, Matt.
Right. And he gets turned into, and so like Ernest squares up and he gets all he rolls up his sleeves and he's has the MIAC.
Okay, well, we're missing a bunch of stuff because we didn't even mention the fact that right before that this happens, because he has to go get old Lady Hackmore. So right after he gets fired, he goes and he sees old Lady Hackmore, I think, and then he ends up in his truck, and he's driving down the road, and I think he sees him or something, and he goes after and chases him, and then Trantor's actually on top of his truck, and he starts stabbing his truck, and then he yells at him. The windshield explodes. He goes out of Ernest goes out of the car and he's like, I will kill you for your forefathers. I didn't have forefathers. I only had one father.
And I didn't know him that well.
And so he goes in the truck. He goes around the truck. He climbs on the roof while Trantor chases him. Meanwhile, Rimshot's driving the truck the whole time. The smartest dog in the world. They get on the truck. They start fighting. And then he pulls out a pair of shears, and then the Trantor cuts him in half, and then he pulls out, he's like, I didn't know I was the master, and then hits himself with a pair of nunchucks in the face. Right. Then he throws a rope at Trantor. Trantor falls out of the truck, and then the rope kind of grabs the end of the truck, and then he starts pulling on it. And then he's pulling 250 horsepower. He's like, put it in reverse. And he's like, look at the dog slams the truck in reverse. Stomps on the gas all the way back. How about a bumper sandwich, booger lips, and just plows into him.
Dude, I gotta tell you, that scene, I always laugh so hard I'm crying. I don't know why, but when you see Trantor drops the rope and he's like, huh? The truck, the way it just it's face level and it just goes boom.
How about a bumper sandwich, booger lips? Boom! And he plows into him. And then he goes after him, and Ernest ends up in throws him in the drum. Remember, he throws him in the drum, and then the drum falls out of the back of the truck, and that's when the two brothers hit the drum, and Ernest is actually pinned inside of it, and he's trying to she's got to hop through. And when he goes to sees old Lady Hackmore, he finds out about the MIAC, or what he thinks is MIAC, and she's trying to open him up with a big giant can opener. Yeah, she's trying to fucking cut him out of it. And that's when they go to the school, and then he faces off a Trantor, and he's like, but you didn't know I could find it this time of year. Well, eat MIAC and die. And he tries to throw it at him. And then he screams at him, and Ernest falls into the convenience stand. And when Trantor goes up to go get him, tries to kill him, but he's got ice cream on his hands.
Yep.
And so Rimshot goes after Trantor, and then Trantor turns Rimshot into a doll. And what's funny about this dog doll is it doesn't look like a dog doll. It looks like a turtle. I can never make out what Rimshot looks like, because it's just a flat thing with legs. Where is the dog's head? You just brought me this wooden turd. I don't even know what this is.
I always kind of thought it looked like a stick. I don't know. It just doesn't look not like how the kids are frozen in the position that they're in. Joey's is him reaching up and laying down against the side of the ditch, and that's how the wood doll is. And the kid getting yanked off the skateboard is like in the shape that he was when he got yanked off the skateboard. And
Or when we missed another part back when
the
he's
oh,
he's running through town and he meets his buddy who's dressed up like the Native American, and he's got the trick or treat bag, and he goes, Kenny, and he goes to see if it's Elizabeth in the sewer drain,
Yep.
and he looks back and she's not there, and then you just see the trick or treat bag drop to the ground, and he turns around and he gets the kid, and he's like, it's the legend, Kenny. Like, how he's using her voice is so creepy. And then he's hopping fences and running through yards, and Trantor's just plowing through everything, and that's one of my favorite parts is when he's chasing him.
That's that scene that we get the milkman scene. Is that night?
Yeah, that's when
right
we get the
after
milkman. Yeah. And we get all these little subtle clues about milk, because right after Kenny finds that, then gives Rimshot the Ernest the dog, he's like, my great grandpappy put him in the ground and I will too. And so he goes and gets in his truck and takes off, and all the townspeople are telling the sheriff they're going after him.
Yeah.
And so he gets in his truck and they all go in this big convoy. But that's when Matt figures out that it's not Miak, it's Milk, and we all get these really subtle clues throughout the movie, such as when Ernest first meets Trantor, he kicks over the cooler, the milk falls down.
Yep.
When Trantor's chasing Matt, he sees the milk truck. He
Yep.
sees when he holds up and then he's at the convenience store and Ernest throws his milk at him. So we get all these little subtle clues about milk.
Right.
And that's when they figured out that milk is what kills or what'll hurt them. So they decide to go to the store. The kids all get together. They go to the store. They get squirt guns and milk, while the rest of the townspeople try to go and kill him. So then so he's driving. Ernest is driving there, talking to Rimshot. What am I supposed to do? Call him Splinter? And then he gets there. And one of my favorite parts is where he puts the last doll in the tree, and the pods are just coming down. Excuse me. And then you see Ernest, and he's got his car, and he's just about to stop at his gas, and his foot goes all the way to his head, and he just floors it and just crushes Trantor into the tree as hard as he can. And I can't remember what he says to him, but he says something to him, and he just that foot like up to his face and just slams the gas. As one of my favorite parts.
He mentions something about you snot nose, pint size. Like he goes on this rant right as he's like,
yeah,
slams on it,
stomps on the gas, and that's when he gets out of the car. He's like, "You okay, Rimshot?" It's about a good thing about being a wooden dog. And that's when he gets out and he's like, "Oh, you can't let these pods hit the ground." And so the pods start falling, and he starts trying to catch them all. But then he's got like an armful of them, and he drops them, and he starts trying to catch the other ones, which is my favorite part. He takes a whole armful and throws them, and tries to catch more.
Right? Like you just said, they can't hit the ground, and then you just drop your whole armful to get.
He's got like a whole armful of them. He just throws them on the ground. It's the fucking best. That's fucking awesome.
Oh.
Then so he all the pods go into the ground, and then they pop out these different trolls. Now what's really cool about this is that these brothers that did this movie, that did the troll movie, or did the trolls in this film, also did the costume, the special effects for Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And some of these are just recycled masks from Killer Clowns from Outer Space without the makeup on. And I think that was the other clue that you had.
Yeah, you got me. That's exactly like the one that Chiodo.
So there's two clowns. So there's the clown that sticks the bullets in his mouth, and then the other troll hits him in the back of the head, and he's shooting the bullets at him. And then when the Ernest is telling him about, he's like, it's milk will kill him, and Ernest fucking spits the milk in his face. He's all, sayonara, snotwad. Yeah. But I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and also I guess going along with that fact that you just shared, they also reuse like the spinning death effect is what I read too, is like from Killer Clowns as well. Since they were special effects people for both movies, so that's cool. I really enjoy Killer Clowns too. That's also a good movie.
I love how that tied together. Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to check out that video game when it drops. Like the killer.
Oh yeah, that looks super rad. Yeah, I think I'll get to that too.
Yeah. So yeah, now we have this final showdown. It's like, we're in the final act here of this film, and um the townspeople are all pulling up, all the trolls are coming out of the ground. He's got his army raising up, and like you got like that scene too, like Ernest like taking a trash can lid and trying to like sit on top of one of like the trolls coming up. Like that's gonna stop it.
Yeah, that's so good. But yeah, you got this final showdown when Trantor starts losing. He goes into the tree and says, "Evil demons make me strong." And he gets all the little antennas get longer. He gets more horns. He becomes super powerful. And this final showdown, and everybody's screaming, "Kill him! Kill him!" And he's got the milk, and he's like, "Come on, you can take on little kids and take on dogs. Take on me." And then he figures out that it's the heart of a child. And he's like, "Come here, little one." And he starts dancing with him. And that is one of my favorite fucking parts of this movie. "Come here, little guy." And he picks him up and he starts dancing with him. It's so, and like the classical dun 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 music while he's dancing with this fucking troll. Snot is just fucking shooting all over the fucking place. You had a really bad cold since I met you.
I love like just like that final, like he's like, "Come here," and he's like, "Mwah."
Ew. He's got a big old snot string.
Yep. And then essentially like Tarantor, like, well, essentially like there's all this like stuff shooting out and like going on, and he explodes. Like it's
Yeah.
like this overwhelming, like, I don't know, maybe Tarantor just needed love. That's all he needed,
Yeah, that's all you need, the heart of a child.
right?
A
And
child, Todd.
yep, they didn't have to sacrifice anybody, thankfully. I'm sure
Mm-mm.
that was the next step,
Right? You wouldn't really sacrifice anybody.
He's like, "Oh, my
One of my
last
other favorite scenes that we didn't mention is like when Ernest is out in the setting up troll traps. He's got Rimshot dressed up like this little kid and
Oh,
as a Boy Scout, and he's trying to put this obnoxiously huge bear trap. Like, and he's all pushing it out. He's like, "You're an ugly you're a cute dog, but you're an ugly kid." And so he's like, "Come on, Rimshot, bring me the stick." And Rimshot backs up and he just shoots in the air. That is so fucking amazing. But after Trantor blows up, everybody that had turned into wooden dolls starts walking out of the tree.
Yep. Yep. And you even have some of the kids from the
The
opening
very beginning.
sequence
Yeah.
coming out.
How
And
did you get so old?
yeah, because which that's another scene we kind of skipped over, was she old lady Hackmore gathering up the dolls at her house
Yeah,
of her relatives, like her sister or cousin.
siblings.
Yeah. And then they come out of the tree too, and they're like, yeah, like you said, they're like, "Oh, you're so old," and it's like it's heartwarming, like to see that they're finally all together again, but they're gonna have to learn like life
Yeah,
in this new century, this new time, and like their parents are like gone, and like everything has changed. So I
yeah,
was like, "Ooh, that's bittersweet." Like, like it's great that
yeah,
they're back with a familiar face, and they're like they'll be able to live out their days with her. And like, I mean, she's probably on the way out, before too long, but just having their family back. But then there was also some like other kids from that time frame that came out, and it's like, oh shit, they got like nobody. They're gonna have to find their like ancestors somehow. Like
right.
they're like, or are they just gonna go live with old lady Hackmore, I guess. But like they're like,
Yeah,
man, it's like it's a bittersweet. Like I'm glad that they got to live again, but like I'm like, oh god, they got nobody. Like, they're like,
and
in a
then
whole different
that,
place.
and then that last scene, and Ernest is so sad and stuff because the Rimshot doesn't come back, and then all of a sudden the Rimshot jumps out of the tree and he's, "I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you," and that's like you get Eartha Kitt smiling at him as he's kissing his dog because Rimshot's finally back, and that's like the last cut scene before you get to the credits. But
Right.
yeah, that's the movie, and it is a wild ride, and it's one of my favorites. Um,
Yeah.
So I mentioned the killer clown thing, but there was a couple of other things. So the original script actually had Ernest inheriting a haunted house,
Huh.
and that Ernest. Well, okay, so let's move here. So I'll go to this way. So right here, John Alvin is the one who created the movie poster, and he's created a lot of movie posters such as Blazing Saddles, Blade Runner, Gremlins, Batman Returns, and Aladdin. Now the background in this film, particularly on the movie poster, is you've seen it, everybody knows what it is. It's Ernest jumping out of a jack-o'-lantern, and in the background there's a graveyard, which in the film there is no graveyard at all.
Yeah.
And you would think there would be like a tree on like Trantor's hand coming out or something like that, but it's not there. John Allen was giving the original script idea, and the original script, which I actually loved, was Ernest was supposed to inherit a haunted house and nothing to do with the troll. And he was from a family member, and Ernest was actually a grave digger, not a garbage truck driver.
Huh.
And I thought that idea was awesome. Ernest P. World as a grave digger, that's hilarious. That's so funny.
Yeah, that
Um,
a really good movie.
yeah, and actually it had a few different working titles actually. So the first one was Ernest and the Curse, was with the inheriting the house.
Mhm.
And then it was going to be called Ernest and the Trolls, and then Ernest Scared Stiff. And so those were some of the, and then they landed on Ernest Scared Stupid. So, but the original idea was for Ernest to be a grave digger, and it was going to be called Ernest and the Curse. Which I don't know, man. Like, if it would have went that way, I think it still would have been as good as it is now. But just the simple fact, if you think about Ernest not as a garbage truck driver, but as a grave digger, that's so funny. That is amazing.
I can only imagine some of the stuff they could have come up with him being the gravedigger and just like his quirkiness. Like I feel
you can actually read the original script online too. You can find that.
Oh, I'll have to do that.
Yeah, you can actually read the original script. It's actually pretty funny. I mean, it works out better than the way they did it. Like they had a lot of ideas that were just like a little too over the top, and it would have had to like. It was supposed to do with like Ernest, like great, like he was gonna play the same characters, but they're all gonna be like ghosts. So it's like the kids were gonna be in it, but then the kids actually originally weren't supposed to be in it. And then so they started changing it because they wanted it to be more of a kids family friend story. So one of the other original ideas was actually Trantor was supposed to dig up the dead bodies of these kids from this graveyard, and they thought, well, that's going to be way too much, so they actually turned that off too. So but you can read all the original scripts online. So and then the fate of Trantor's head, the animatronic head, John Carey had kept the head and gave it to his son. The director. And then what else? Oh, in the original opening, there's a lot of different old films in the opening. Yeah. And some of the old films are Screaming Skull, Battle Beyond the Sun, The Killer Shrews, White Zombie, Phantom from Space, the original Little Shop of Horrors, and the 1922 silent film Nosferatu. Were some of the movies that you see in the opening credits with that really ominous music in the background, which I really, really loved.
Yeah, that's like so iconic. I even hear it in my head.
Yeah, I do too.
And like the eyeball popping out of his mouth, and like like
right,
all
he's
that stuff.
peeking through the moss and stuff.
Yeah,
and he's got the werewolf hand in
it. I love it. Like you said, I think this is like an amazing movie. I couldn't see my life without it. Like I would have loved to see that other version, but I definitely love what we got too. I think
I do too.
We could. I wish he was still alive and could do another one. I wish they could bring that script back and do that, and we could have both. Like,
oh, that would be awesome. Actually, this one, and this was the fourth film and the last one that Disney produced. So Disney wouldn't do anymore, and Siskel and Ebert like crapped on the movie. They give it like the worst review they've ever given any movie, which I don't ever listen to them anyway. So all of Ernest movies after Disney dropped to the franchise, they went straight to video. So every other movie after Ernest Scared Stupid, like it went right to video, which I think kind of sucks. And then there was a couple of actually another few scripts that they were working on for Ernest. So Ernest spaced out where Ernest was supposed to go to space, and then there was Ernest and the Voodoo Curse where where Ernest was supposed to be a pirate, and they were working on that. But Jim Varney actually passed away before they could finish the script.
Rest in peace. He did so many. I just love the whole Ernest series. He did like the Beverly Hillbillies, like the remake movie.
Yep.
And he was in some other movies too. I can't think about right off the top of my head, but so iconic. Like I said in the beginning of the video, he seemed like a great guy both on and off screen. He's greatly missed for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I know that even while he was battling his own medical problems, he would still go see the kids in the hospital and dress as Ernest and do that. And I was like, that's a great man right there. Yeah. He had his own crap to deal with, but he was more concerned about these terminally ill kids and like sick kids, making them feel good. So
yeah,
beautiful man. Rest in peace for sure.
Absolutely. So he was actually buried in Kentucky, I think.
Oh,
you can go see his grave. Yeah.
I would definitely make that trip at some point in my life. I feel like it had an impact on my childhood that it'd be worth going to see.
Mine too. I would definitely love to go there.
Yeah. So now I've kind of changed. How like last time on the show we were like, if you gave it like a rating, of 1 to 10 or whatever like that back in, I've changed it now. We're giving it grades. So
okay,
like if you were at school and you got like an A+ or you got an F-, like one of those, what would you grade this movie?
What do you think, Buggles? What does Ernest get graded as? She's got apples in her mouth. I would say A+. What do you think? No one can understand you, Apple.
So we give it A+ to the normal start.
You give it an A+? Can you look right there and say you give it an A+?
A+, and there was a scary part I didn't like, so F in it and an A.
An F and an A? Okay, well, we're going to have a talk about what scary movies are great. Come on, will you go get me another water, babe?
I agree. Like I said, this had an impact on my childhood. I love it to this day. I don't care what anybody thinks. Like, I agree 100%. This is an A+ in my books. Like, the trolls look fantastic. I mean,
I know
the effects were insane. Like for them,
the effects were amazing. The cinematography too. There's a lot of really cool shots, such as when when Ernest is running down the hallway and they got the camera tilted sideways. That's a really cool shot. They used a lot of dry ice in this movie, which have made a really cool effects for like fog. And they really used a nice mixture of like this dry ice and then like a fog machine, because it looked really good, especially when they're walking and this like it kicks up, or when she's on her bike and it's rolling down the hill. It looks so good. Thank you. So yeah, they used a lot of really cool like dry ice effects in this for fog.
Yeah,
that look great on film.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, the time that it was, that they shot this, things were not as far along progressed as they are now. I don't think, besides like, even like, I don't know, like I even enjoyed like the blue spirits and stuff coming out of the ground. Like the CGI didn't look too over the top. It kind of subtle and it was nice. And like, I don't know. And I just have this huge, I guess, hard on for Ernest. I guess. He was so great. I stand behind that 100%. the stars align. We both say A+. That's
Yeah, absolutely.
God, I don't even know what I would really nitpick anyway with this film. Like, I don't have any nitpicks. Like,
I don't either. I don't either. There's it's such a good film that there's really not a lot that you can pick apart on it.
yeah,
I mean, there's really not, because it's such a magical, you get a lot of good feelings when you watch this movie. So I mean, yeah, there's really nothing that I personally have to nitpick. I mean, you might talk to like Siskel and Ebert if you can talk to them. I don't know if they're either alive anymore, but they apparently hated it. Actually, it had a $9.6 million budget, and it only made $14.1 million in the box office. And the reason it only made $14.1 million is because people thought it was too scary.
yeah, and it's hard because it was geared towards more of like a kid audience.
Yeah,
But it was just scary enough that, like, I mean, shoot, I can tell you as a kid, I was spooked. Like, after I saw it, like, I lived out in the country, and I used to like go from my friend's house to my house, which I lived down the road from him out in the country, and I had to like walk home. I would literally sprint home, and I could swear that there was a troll out in the fields out on our backyard, and I would just
following you.
I was booking it, and I jumped the fence into our front yard, ran up the stairs into the door. Like, it it scared me. I thought trolls were a thing, dude. I was like, after that, I was like, but I mean, I still love it anyway, but it scared me because, like, yeah, I don't know. I just
I
always
think it's got this creepy enough element to it where you're turning children into dolls.
yeah,
And that's super scary, especially like just the ideology behind it. There's a doll, this troll is out there just turning kids into wooden dolls. But this, if you think about it, this is the only horror movie that I can think of where you watch it and it's classified as horror, but no one dies in this movie.
yeah. Everybody
Like
comes
nobody dies at all.
Yeah. Yeah, because everybody gets resurrected in the end, and like they come out and they're no longer wooden dolls. So like, yeah, there's no death. I mean, there's the looming that the during the movie, there's that looming element of like, are these kids like souls lost forever? Like, but like you have a
It
feeling
seems that they're just trapped in time, that they're just trapped there. Like they don't know what happened. All of a sudden they just woke up out of this tree. Because it kind of shows you that they didn't die. They just, the doll just froze them as prisoners, and they couldn't, break the curse in time, so that they just kept the dolls of these old, the children from back in the day.
yeah, and yeah, like you said, that's more than likely. It's just they were suspended, and like just it's like a nothingness. Like like
Yeah.
they 1 minute they were like alive and are doing their thing, and then last thing they remember is probably the troll, like attacking them, and then just nothing. Like,
Yeah.
who knows? They were probably like, if they were like in like a coma like state, like essentially, or but yeah, no, it's a really good movie. I can't wait for my kids to grow up with it. Like, you could bet your ass
Definitely.
Halloween at least, and like sometimes I watch horror all year round, so it'll probably pop out other times of the year too. It doesn't have to just be Halloween.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'll start my kids out slow, with stuff like Ernest and like Goosebumps and like like stuff like that, and then like
Right.
we'll ramp up there eventually.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, you got to start them off with that one, like, and this one, and like Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town. Those are really good movies to start your kids off with,
yeah,
because they're like gateway horror, and especially like Monster Squad. You start them off with this one, and then you give them Monster Squad, and then after that you give them Nightmare on Elm Street, and then after that you give them Insidious, and then
yeah,
not me. I just gave my kids Insidious and said, "Watch this; it's really scary."
yeah.
And then
I was kind of picturing like starting out with like Monster Squad, then moving up to like Fright Night, and then moving up to It, and like just like progressing like with like more and more horror with more consequences. Like, these kids are these kids are dying, like in It, like they're going to the deadlights, they're done for, like,
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go from Trantor, Ernest Scared Stupid to It. Like
yeah.
that would be a huge step. I mean, that's huge. Like, oh, that was really good. Now watch this. Now watch this It movie. Like that is not a good step.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like progression. Um, but yeah, so you recently dropped your movie.
I
Um,
did.
would you like to share with the viewers a little more about that?
Yeah. So this is the third installment of our horror films. So we have two horror films out previous that were called The Pigeon River Slayer and Cannibal Cafe. So this one is called The Legend of Freak Forest. It is a vampire movie. So it is part 3, and it kind of leads into the fourth film. It stars me and my family. My both two of my kids are in it. So Evelyn, that you saw jumping around, she was in it. She actually plays my daughter in the movie. I play two different characters. So I play Sledge Crypt, whose road name is Nightmare, who is a biker of a uh, Lords of Night. They're called the Lords of Night. He's the president of this biker club. But what the Lords of Night are is a rogue motorcycle club that are Knights Templars trying to infiltrate the Clintonville slashers, who are like these satanic worshippers. And I also play the leader of the satanic worshippers, Kevin Allen Marug, who in the first film, which is right here, gets taken to the death house to be executed, and I escape. And when I escape, I steal the person that was driving the truck, which happens to be my friend Brian that I do movies with. I steal his wallet and then, go on a killing spree from there. So this third one was a lot of fun. It took about 6 weeks to shoot, I want to say. We got together 4 different times, and we had a lot of fun doing it. It was a good time.
Heck yeah, always a good time. And I had the pleasure of watching that and really enjoyed it. I really love the whole elements of like going back. At first you start like the beginning of that movie, you start at like the back in time,
Yeah.
and like, your wife. Oh, I guess I don't want to give it away. People go watch it. Like,
Yeah, go watch it. Yeah, but you're right. It does take time, take place in the year 805, which all the stories take place here in town in Clintonville. So they're all the stories are surrounded, like it's almost like if it's like a different world, I guess. Like if Clintonville was a different world. Kind of the reason I went back to part in time in this film is because I wanted to explain like the last 2 movies, and that was kind of what I was doing. And I was going to shoot that in down at the park here, because there's a lot of woods out in the shaded area, and I am having to shoot it in my backyard because I got a lot of problems from people in town with it. I had to write like the city council and ask them for permission, and they said no way. So I ended up shooting it in my backyard, and yeah, it doesn't look the best, but I mean, I used some pretty rad filters on it, so it looked cool.
yeah, no, I thought it turned out very well. And you're out there chasing the dream, man. Like, I think most of us would love to make our own movie, and you've made several now. There's only can go up from here for sure. And like, I feel like I'm sure you've progressed with every film and learned new tricks and like, of the trade, and like kind of new ways to like edit and filter, and like I'm sure it's a learning process through the whole thing. And I'm sure it's been a fun process for you.
Yeah, it is. It was, and it was. Especially if you use one camera, because all these are shot on my cell phone, so you have to get really creative on how you shoot it. Because the first movie actually isn't shot landscape; it's actually shot just like this, and I didn't have a lot of experience doing it. And so by the time I got to this one, I really studied a little bit more about like cinematography and like how to do different camera angles and do different tricks and up head shots and below shots and from the side. And I got a lot of really cool. So there's actually like a sword fight in the very beginning of the movie, and I was actually standing on my ladder, and I got the sword fight from the air, which is like pointed down. And I wanted them to, and none of us are sword fighters, so I told the 2 guys and said, I want you to go in a circle in 3 times, and I want you to cling your swords together 3 different times. And They did it. They did it. Well, it took like 7 or 8 takes, but yeah, they did it. Ended up going in a circle in 3 times, and it looked really rad. And if you go to see this film, I want someone to like point out all the vampire puns that I put throughout the movie. There are several different vampire lines that I threw out throughout the movie in the dialogue. So I wonder if anybody could pick them all out. No one's done it yet.
Oh man, I'm guilty of it too. I don't think I caught those. And
Uh-oh.
yeah, I know. I'm a big offender right here.
Yeah, you are.
Such a dick.
You fucking jerk. You didn't even see my movie.
You're
No,
welcome.
actually, I think I sent it to you first.
What?
I think I sent that to you first. I sent it to you the day before I put it online. I think you were the first person I sent it to.
Yeah, and I loved it. I mean I love your vision, and I love like what you're going for, and you know you did like such a phenomenal job with what was accessible to you. And
Yeah.
I think that's what matters the most when filmmaking is doing the most with what you have and showing that you're really passionate about a project. It showed more passion than a lot of projects that are out there that are on the big screen, because they're just slapping shit together and just to make a quick buck. They don't,
Yeah.
they don't, a lot of those people don't have the same love for the genre that people like us do. And so
Exactly.
it's really refreshing to see, like, between your movies and, like, Home is Where the Haunt Is from Sledgehammer Horror. And just seeing like these movies that are made by people that are passionate about horror that may not have Hollywood budgets, and
Yeah, exactly.
what they got, and that's what matters. And so I hope you continue to make movies. I'm excited for whatever you bring out next in your series, or if you're gonna branch out and do some things that are separate from it, like whatever comes next.
I've got 2 more movies in this series, and there is one, and I dropped this on my channel so I could talk about it now, but there's 2 more movies. So the next film is called The Night Howler, which is about the werewolf film, and it's going to be kind of like ending the story arcs of every character so far. And then we're going to step back into time, and we're going to go to the year before this 3rd movie takes place in 804, and we're going to find out of different things about the film. And that movie is called Burn the Witch, and it takes place in Norway. So there's going to be it's going to be a very cold movie because I'm going to shoot it during the winter, which is going to be hard. But yeah. And then kind of circling back to Home is Where the Haunt Is with Ken and Ashley. That movie was very well written. The cinematography in it was very well done, and Ken killed his role. I mean, I thought he did amazing. Everybody did really awesome in that movie, but Ken has got the chops for acting. I really respect what he's done for the community, and I really respect what he's done for this movie. Him and Ashley put their hearts and souls into it, and you could really see that.
Yeah.
So big shout out to them. I actually ended up writing a song called Whiskey Ghost about that movie.
Nice.
So and I know that I want to collaborate with a certain singer from this band called Outer Resistance. Do you know who they are?
I think I've heard them before.
Yeah, I was wondering if you wanted to jump in on the record and help me sing that song.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I've written a verse, and like I'm gonna sing it the way I'm singing it now. But when we get it from the studio into like the record process, like I want you to throw your 2 cents in there.
Yeah, dude, consider me 100% down.
It's gonna be awesome, man. It's gonna drop on iTunes like a goddamn grenade.
Oh shit. Yeah, that I'm stoked for that. That'll be awesome.
Heck yeah, man.
So that's awesome. I'm excited for what you guys are doing. I'm excited for your future projects. And I'm really excited you came on. I always love having you on here, and I love when we collaborate together.
Absolutely.
And I really hope we'll do more things in the future. Like you said,
Absolutely.
like the track. Maybe I can cop in. Maybe we can try to see my acting chops, see how they hold up. And
Get your ass out here. Yeah, dude. If you want to get out here and fall of 23, like if you can do that, if you can pull that off, I have a part because I suck at acting and I don't want to play two characters again. So
yeah, what kind
I never wanted to act. That was never the idea. I was just going to direct and I was going to write and be the asshole behind the camera because I'm insane. I'm like, do it this way or I'll kill you. But yeah, like well, I'm not that bad. But I've always wanted to be the guy behind the camera doing the cool shots, shooting the blood at people. You know, I wanted that. I never wanted to act. I'm like like I can't do it. Like I'm doing the best I can. And Kevin Allen Murug was like one of my favorite characters I ever came up with. And yeah, like I even got like these movie posters made of our movie. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, I'll get it for you so you can see it. It's really cool. It's called the Pigeon River Slayer. See, there's my stupid ass. And then that's Josh, plays bass in my band, and that's Dan. He plays the guitar. Nice. So yeah, I got this movie poster, and then I've got the other one, which is the sequel that I have that the movie poster broke, but I'll be right back.
Okay.
Come on.
I'm not moving.
Right, so this is part 2, and this is Evelyn. You saw her jumping around earlier, and she's choking Pearson with Christmas lights. This is for Cannibal Cafe. So both of these films are actually horror. These are Christmas horror movies, and the third one kind of takes place at Christmas time, but we didn't shoot it at Christmas time. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get another frame for this, but I'm going to get a frame for my third one as well.
Nice.
And I didn't give the cast any. Oops. I was like, I'm going to make movie posters. And they're like, oh, awesome, cool. And they're like, oh, I can't wait for that to happen. And I was like, yeah, I'm making them for me, not for you. Sorry. Why would I make them for you guys?
Yeah.
I didn't see you write them.
Right? I'm the most important person here.
I am the most important person here. This place is falling apart without me.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you so much, bro, for joining me again for such a spectacular movie that we both love. Hopefully we'll do this again soon.
Absolutely.
And I hope you have a killer rest of your day.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much for having me. I had a blast, man. I always like this collaboration. Like, we do this monthly collaboration where you jump on my channel, and then I jump on your channel, and then we jump back on my channel. So yeah, it's gonna be it's really a lot of fun for me to jump back and forth between the two of us. So I really have a lot of fun collaborating, man. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, anytime. And for you viewers out there, keep killing it out there, my friends, and just remember, don't get caught.
Stay horror. Follow Josh.
Stay horror.